Good morning. It's good to be here this morning. As human beings, we're wired to want our lives to matter, to be meaningful. We strive for meaning. We seek it in some of the most unlikely places. But mostly we feel alone, isolated, alienated, and we wonder why our lives feel so empty. I believe that need for meaning grows as we approach the end of our lives, the fourth quarter in the game of life, and the need to find some measure of meaning becomes so important that for some of us it is all-consuming. My talk this morning is about how and where in the fourth quarter of life that I believe some degree of meaning can be found. It's good to be back. When we're in our 20s, it often comes as a shock to learn that we aren't going to live forever. Oh, we learned that at an earlier age, of course, but it became a reality when we were in our 20s. Then in our 50s, it often hits many of us that we're just not going to be as successful as we thought we would, as we dreamed we would be. That's around the time that women become obsessed with their wrinkles and men with their beer bellies. And this is about the time that we decide we had better start learning how to be happy with who we really are instead of who we wished we were. I can still remember waking up once, I think I was in my 50s, my early 50s, in the middle of the night, and wondering, when did I get this old? Any of you had that experience? Yeah. When we finally reach our 70s, I turned 77 this past August, we begin to realize that we're entering the fourth quarter of the game of life. And to use a football analogy, we look up at the scoreboard and notice that the score for the home team is 46 and the visitors are 10. And we're the visitors. And it slowly begins to dawn on us that we might not be going to win this game after all. Realizing that time is running out, there are a few things that we might try. We could consider a Hail Mary, a long pass into the end zone. But we realize unless our quarterback is Doug Flutie, and he's not, our chances are very slim. We might choose to play conservative and hope that the other team makes more mistakes than we do in the little time remaining. But we realize that's not very likely either. But most of us choose to just keep playing as best as we can and hope that in the process of losing, we look good. Yes, if we can't win, then looking good is about all we have left to hope for. The basic situation as we approach the end of life is, has our life been meaningful? There are other options. Some seek a successful life instead of a meaningful one. They're the ones who often spend extra time in the office and drive pretty fancy cars. Some want their life to be a beautiful life, and style and fashion is really important to them. Still, most of us will ultimately go for some measure of meaning. But what is meaning, anyway? Most people believe that the meaning of life is something that they can make a statement of and hang on the wall. But the meaning of life is not a statement, it's a feeling. It's a feeling that you experience with different people, and because everyone is different, the meanings you generate with others will also be different. The thing that meaning and meaningfulness have in common is that they're both feelings very similar to love. And the lack or loss of meaning is a feeling too. And it feels like aloneness. Like the feeling of being alone in a great, big, giant universe. All by yourself, with no one to care for you. So is there meaning in the universe? Where can we find meaning? Well, the Hubble Space Telescope looked at the same patch of sky for many, many days, and what did they see? Just stars and galaxies as far as we can see. The Hubble Ultra Deep Field image found the exact same thing that exists right here. No heaven, no God, just more space and matter in the form of stars and galaxies. From this we can come to our first conclusion about meaning in the universe. There is no meaning in the universe. But how can that be? Surely we all recognize others who claim to feel that their lives are meaningful. Where did their meaning come from? And surely we have ourselves felt life to be meaningful from time to time. Why did we feel that there's meaning in the universe if it's not out there somewhere? The reason meaning cannot be found in the universe is because the universe is not the source of meaning. Meaning comes from a place that I will describe in a few moments. A place where the value of integrity, which is composed of loyalty, honesty, and respect, can be known and felt. A place where values are generated or rather mutually constructed by human beings. Those individuals who experience values like integrity, loyalty, honesty, and respect know and feel meaning. Those who seldom practice being a person of integrity or being loyal, faithful, and respectful may wonder why their lives feel so meaningless. So it is from the psyches of individuals that both values and meanings can and do arise. Collectively, they make up the cultural values that a successful society works to pass on to the next generation. When I was a boy, growing up in Texas schools, there was not enough teachers for all grades. One year in Paris, Texas, I was in a class with one teacher and 2 grades. 5th grade was on one side of the room, 4th grade was on the other side. At the front of the classroom was an American flag with 48 stars. And on the left side of the room hung a picture of George Washington. And on the right side, a picture of Abraham Lincoln. I absorbed the values that flag and those pictures seemed to suggest. The flag is the pledge that we said every morning without the phrase "under God" in it, suggested to me the importance of country. Washington's picture suggested the importance of democracy and its attributes, like saluting the flag, standing when the Star-Spangled Banner is played, voting, paying taxes, serving when called for the military, and so on. And the picture of Lincoln's picture, that was Honest Abe, and pointed toward the importance of being honest. Collectively, these values made up of what I think of as integrity. Those were some of the values that my early culture imposed on my young mind, and I still value them even today. I want to give you what I consider is an excellent example of one man's applied integrity. It's a football story, a true story. I want to tell you about a football game that occurred in, I believe it was 1914, the year following the time the forward pass first became popular in college football. It was a game involving two of the schools which I happen to have attended, so I feel comfortable telling this story. The first team was the University of Oklahoma, OU. The other school was the Missouri School of Mines, but when I attended it was the University of Missouri in Rolla. And since it has changed its name yet again, today it is Missouri S&T for Science and Technology. At the time, OU had a team and a practice field but did not have a stadium. So they arranged to play a series of games in a few weeks by traveling by train to different universities. The first game was against the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. OU lost that game because of a new play that Arkansas used. It was the first time it had ever been used against Oklahoma. It was called the forward pass. The pass was only used once in that game, but it was enough. The second game OU played was against the University of, well, not the University of, it was the Missouri School of Mines. It was played in Springfield, Missouri, because Rolla didn't have a football field either. But they could play in Springfield because they could use the rodeo stadium, which could be adapted as a football field. No grass, but you do the best you can with what you got. On OU's first play from scrimmage, they threw a forward pass, which they had just learned about from Arkansas, and scored. The score was 5-0. Yes, 5. This was back when touchdowns were worth only 5 points, not 6 as they are today. They kicked the extra point, and it was 6-0. In the second quarter, Missouri scored, and it was 6-6 at halftime. In the third quarter, OU scored again, and it was 12-6. Then in the fourth quarter, Missouri had the ball, and near the end of the game, they were driving towards the OU's goal line. Now this was before there were scoreboards behind the end zones, and the time was kept on watches by both coaches. Eventually, the OU coach, Benny Owens, held up his hand and said, "Time's expired, game's over." The Missouri coach said, "No, I still have time left on my watch." The rules back then said that when either coach called time, it was the end of the game. But Benny Owens allowed the two coaches to adjust their watches, and Missouri ran another play, but failed to score. And again, Benny Owens held up his hand and said, "Time's expired, game's over." And again, the Missouri coach said, "No, I still have time left on my watch." So, again, Benny Owens allowed the two coaches to synchronize their watches and run another play. Again, Missouri failed to score. And again, Benny Owens said, "Time's expired, game's over." But yet again, the Missouri coach said, "No, I still have time left on my watch." This time, Benny Owens did something that I have never seen done before. He took the entire OU team and left the field. That took guts and a heck of a lot of integrity. Then a very interesting thing happened. Without any opposition, the Missouri lined up and with no one in front of them, scored a touchdown and claimed the score was 12-11. Then they lined up for the extra point. And with true poetic justice, the kicker missed the kick. To this day, OU claims the final score of that game was 12-6, but Missouri claims it was 12-11. And that's the truth. That story is, I believe, an excellent example of having integrity. It is about living up to one's values. For Benny Owens realized that it wasn't whether the team won or lost the game that ultimately was important, but rather how honestly they played within the rules. And that's integrity. But here we are now today. We played the game for 3 quarters. We've arrived at our 70s, and it's now the 4th and last quarter. We're pretty sure we're not going to win, but is it too late to feel that it has all been worth it? Is it too late to feel any integrity, to feel that the whole of life was at all meaningful? We played hard, and even though we know we're not going to win, how can we find the rest of the game that we have left to be meaningful? Let me revisit a minute that question of where meaning comes from. Remember I said I'd come back to that earlier? We notice that meaning cannot be found in the universe, which is full of stars and galaxies as far as we can see, and there's no reason to believe that if we could see any further, it would be any different. Philosophers have divided the world into an objective world and a subjective world. Our objective world is one that we are aware of through our senses. Our universe, the one filled with stars and galaxies. But then our subjective world is composed of all of our private thoughts and feelings. We share our objective world with others. All of us see, hear, and feel virtually the same thing. But our private worlds, our subjective worlds, is each person's alone. We can, but we don't have to share it with anyone if we don't wish to. And those 2 worlds, according to philosophers, are the whole of existence. But they're not. Sociologists have added yet another world. They call it the intersubjective world. It is the world that we construct with others. It is a world made up of what the minds of many people have constructed together. It is the world we would never construct by ourselves, yet it emerges out of our interactions with others. It often goes by the name of culture. And in return, our culture shapes and molds each and every individual within it. We are all products of a culture. It is the world we learn to construct in school. It is our political world, and it is our religious world. And it is a world within which meaning emerges and is made. So that's where meaning comes from. I see a spectrum. Whether it's real or not, I'm not sure. But it goes like this. The objective, the intersubjective, the subjective. We experience the objective world through our sciences. The best way to experience the intersubjective world is through religion, which is something we do with and share with others. Our subjective experiences give rise to what we call spirituality, those feelings we have within. Our subjective selves are also where the beautiful and the awesome come from. Note that in this model, religion and spirituality are definitely not the same thing. While one is a subjective thing, the other is an intersubjective thing. Now, back to that intersubjective entity called meaning. It is my opinion that meaning cannot be found or even discovered, but it can be received. Meaning is not in the world. It comes from our interactions with others. Why? Because first and foremost, we're social animals. That's the way we're wired. Our lives exist primarily in and with other people. We live in a world of relationships, not all that dissimilar from the way a fish lives in water. We can give meaning to others and they can give meaning to us, but we find it difficult to acquire meaning on our own. Meaning comes from a friend, from a spouse, from a drinking buddy, from a partner, from a father or a mother, from a son or a daughter, same sex or opposite sex, it doesn't matter. It can come from several people, from a group, or from just one special person. But without another person or other people, the feeling of meaningfulness is mostly lost. It is, I believe, a legitimate question to ask. Why is friendship the way to obtain meaning? Again, I'm not sure, but here's my speculation. If it can be assumed to be true that we are each somehow a product of the world that is at some level trying to know itself, that is, through our eyes the universe sees, through our ears it hears, and through our touch it feels, then that seems to suggest to me that each of us is here to become a representative of existence itself. What's more, our friends are also representatives of existence, this universe as well. Hence, by our choice, our friends become our personal and direct contacts with the universe, for they are many universes. It is why we seek a friend with whom we can tell what we have seen and to whom we can tell what we feel, in hope that they will share us what they feel, see and feel as well. Together with our friends, we make living feel like what we were made to accomplish, to see, share, and enjoy the world we exist within. And when we do that, our lives feel meaningful. So, to apply this speculation, if you want the fourth quarter to be meaningful, look around and see who your teammates are. They are the ones you'll be doing your end zone dance with. They are the ones from whom you can receive meaning. They will be your friends. They may even be your best friends. They may be the ones with who will be holding your hand when you take your final breath. But don't forget to give friendship. That friendship is a reciprocal relationship. So find ways to give meaning back to them too. To belong to a church, and I don't care if it's a Unitarian church, a Christian church, or a coven of pagan worshipers. What it really is a collection of potential friends. But don't let them remain potential friends. Invite someone to lunch. Begin to give them your friendship. Write them cards or text them or email them. Learn what's important to them. If you will start, I will assure you your friendship will grow and that you will get back for yourself. What you will get back will be genuine, deeply fulfilling meaning. Real, meaningful friendship occurs not in church, but because of it. Don't let these people sitting around you right now remain only potential friends. They are the ones who have the power to make your life worth living. Love them, and you will not know the feeling of loneliness that comes from having no meaning. Here's the key. The game is well worth playing, win or lose, because of the teammates we play it with. There is a great deal of similarity between love and meaning. As meaning grows, love grows. As love grows, meaning grows. Indeed, at some point, love and meaning become essentially the very same thing. Play the game for as long as you possibly can, but always, always have a friend to play it with. And I promise you, when the end of the game comes, whether you've won or not, you will feel that it was a wonderful time. And it was never about winning the championship. It was really about the feeling of being loved. Let us stand and join together in our closing hymn, Let It Be a Dance, number 311. Thank you very much.